Hello, good morning, everyone. This is Bahira Abdul Salam speaking. I'm speaking today to you about the 1 Million March for Children. And I'm very honored to have a very special guest, Dr. Ann Gillis, who accepted to be joining our steering committee. And I'm very excited to have her on our steering committee and welcome, Dr. Ann. I'm very happy to have you today.
I can't tell you, Bahira, how excited I am to be here and to just to talk about what we're doing with the 1 Million March for Children. It is, to me, this is such a pivotal event in Canadian history. I really believe that in the depths of my heart. And for many years, I mean decades, I've been researching same-sex attraction, the LGBT issues, and some of the things that are hidden. And now, most recently, in the last 5 years, I've spent a lot of time with researching the transgender phenomenon, and it is a phenomenon. So, I mean, this is what is happening across Canada on the 20th of September in 2023. So just next week, 6 days, my goodness, is something, it's a fruition of my prayers for years and years that parents would unite across this country on behalf of their children.
That's amazing. So, like, how long have you been concerned about those issues, and how it started with you? Like, I'd like to know, and to for everybody to know a little bit about your background and what brought you in this area.
Oh, absolutely. Well, about 30 years. Um, I have, and so I'm a Christian believer. And my when I was in doing my bachelor's program, I really ended up focusing on same-sex attraction and doing some research on that issue. And that kind of pushed me into the whole thing of LGBTQ and some of the medical concerns and different things that were happening. And then so that was a long time ago. And then in when I actually did my PhD, my dissertation then was on attachment theory with same-sex attracted men. And it was a very small group because I was doing a qualitative study and had to do interviews with each of these men. But so that's kind of been my background with the transgender. Now, let me back up a step. In 2016, I wrote a book called Closing the Floodgates, setting the record straight on gender and sexuality. And that's really the first time I started exposing, I guess, so to speak, the transgender phenomenon, cross-sex identification. And, you know, there's many people long before me that have tried to bring awareness. So that book was published in 2017. And then I spent some time trying to educate individuals, trying to go to churches and help pastors and leaders and people understand that this is not really a good thing that's happening in Canada, because it's affecting our children, and it's affecting them at a very deep level. And I found it very difficult. It was like this was a topic nobody wanted to touch, and it was frustrating, to say the least, because I could feel it in my heart, like you feel it in your heart for your children, you know, and my grandchildren now. But so I did that, and then conversion therapy, the bylaws began to start popping up all over the country, municipally and then provincially. And so I and about 3 or 4 others did a lot of work, presentations, political briefs to councils, and bringing research, verifiable, validated research. And it was like deaf ears. Even the people that kind of were like, well, maybe this is true, they just seem to shut down because I think of the political pressure and the money. There's a lot of money behind this movement, pushing it forward. And so then, of course, Bill
So just to be
C.
clear, behind the LGBTQ movement, because
Yes,
we are getting some rumors that we have money behind our movement, which is, which is
I was
oh
told
my
that,
God.
Bahira, and one of the councils, I think Regina City Council, one of the other speakers said, these people, meaning us,
Yeah.
are well funded. And I'm thinking, I haven't gotten any funding for doing what I'm doing. I don't get paid for doing what I'm doing. I'm doing this because of my passion for truth and justice. And everything is so upside down what's said. So you're absolutely right.
It's completely the opposite. Like the majority of our team, we are struggling because we don't want to touch any kind of funds. So we don't want to have any legal liability. So yes, I completely agree. There's huge funding behind the LGBTQ movement and this ideology. So I want to ask you, as a specialist, what's your major concern? Why do you think people need to be concerned about what's happening? So what's gonna happen if we just go do our work and,
Well, that's what's been happening. We, as parents and grandparents and just Canadian citizens, have, we have busy lives.
Mm.
And we go to work and we do things, and parents, are busy in the evening with their children. The problem is we haven't been paying attention to what's been going on in the public school system. And so just in January, I published this book. So I have about 6 books, but I'll put this up. It's called Implosion: When the Pendulum Swings Too Far. And I identified a lot of things that were happening in our public schools. And very, it should actually make people irate. Really, if they really would pay attention, they would really go, what are you kidding me? And I've had people say, is this true? Absolutely, it's true. And so this is what we need to do. We need to not only just talk to our neighbors who kind of go, well, I don't know. People are very lackadaisical and Canadians kind of laid back, but it's time for parents not to be laid back anymore. We must protect our children because, and I'm not talking about the individual adult who is homosexual or lesbian or any of the other identifications. If that's what they want to do, they're free to do that, but leave our kids alone. You have no right to usurp your political beliefs, your religious beliefs, because now LGBTQ is it is a religion in Canada. And so it's like they're imposing their religious belief on our children. And as a Christian, as a Muslim, you cannot impose your religious belief in the public school system. We're not to do that. We've been told we can't have the Bible in the public schools. We can't pray in the public schools. Why is this organization allowed to promote their sexual beliefs, their sexual, very graphic sexual practices in the classroom? So that's why I really feel that parents have to wake up. If they don't, it will be too late for their children. And as you know, Bahira, many parents now are struggling because children are coming home telling their parents they're the opposite sex.
Oh yeah, this is really and then sometimes they don't tell them,
That's right.
and they reach a point where they get shocked. And then it happened to many of my friends that suddenly they found that their children want to leave home, and it is like they are not transparent with their parents, and they are taught to do that at schools, which is extremely dangerous. Like when parents are not like children are taught not to be trusting their parents and
Yes.
not to be transparent with them, and this is what they're trying to do. So I believe this is also a major concern.
It is a huge concern. And so just this morning, I was reading about a British Columbia teacher who sent homework home with the junior kindergarten children. And they were to go into their home and find a place, discreetly find a place that was private, very private, nobody else would see them, where they could, and excuse me for the language, where they could masturbate. These are 4 and 5-year-old children. This is insidious. This is absolutely diabolical, I would say. Why have we been asleep at the wheel? We must call this out, and we must stop it.
Yeah, that's unbelievable what's going on. So obviously there is a major problem with our education system, and we don't know who exactly should be in charge of this, but I believe that every individual, every politician, and every person, Canadian individual, they are really should be concerned and should take charge of what is happening. We shouldn't just be silent and everyone says no. This is politics on the provincial level, not the federal. And the federal, they say so. There is a lack of responsibility. Like politicians should be accountable about what's happening. So who do you think is responsible now about this? Because everybody is saying that we are not responsible. So now no one is responsible.
That's right. Well, it's all about passing the buck to the other politicians, or the education system. That happened in my own community. There was a group called oh gosh, I'll think of it in a minute. Anyways, it came into our schools last spring. Anyways, and I notified people that it was coming. Right now, not right now. Oh dear, now I've forgotten. Anyways, that it was coming into the schools, and so it was LGBT folk that were coming to talk about their particular orientations, and it was all in the name of inclusivity. After that happened, after I told people about it, my own school superintendent, board superintendent called me dangerous, and of course it's all vilifying. But the issue is this isn't just kind of creeped up. Well, it's creeped up, I guess, but it's not just been the last year or two. This whole trajectory started, really, if you go back into the late 1940s, and it's all about sexualizing our society. It's all about changing the moral perspective of our society. And so it's kind of been like the frog in the pot, that when the water starts to boil, now people are trying to jump out of the pot and say, whoa, what happened? Well, we've all been asleep, and we need to wake up. And that's part of what we're doing in Ottawa and across this country on September 20th. We are trying, the ones who have eyes to see what's going on are trying to educate the general public. Politicians haven't listened to us, Bahira. I've been at this for a while, and other than just a handful of politicians who seem to have their hands tied behind their backs by their party, whatever party they're in. Mostly that was conservatives, but they have to toe the party line. They can't speak truth. When did this happen? Like, come on, we need to be speaking truth, and we need to be telling the truth about what's going to happen to these little kids in the future, when they're told what to do sexually at 4 and 5 years old. This is setting them on a life of sexual experimentation, leading them down, if they go to the I'm in the wrong body idea, which is really promoted in our public school system, then they are, encouraged to socially transition without their parents' knowledge. How ridiculous. And then medicalized, they are put on puberty blockers, the whole affirmation, instead of helping these children psychologically, then we, as well, I was a therapist many years ago, I've retired now, but the only care we are allowed to provide in Canada is called affirmation therapy. So listen, this just came out last week. So this is my book, The Ultimate Deception, and it's on the truth about gender affirming care, because people need to educate. So that's my lane, is to help educate people on what is really going on out there. And so education is really, really important. And what we're doing, I think, Bahira, with the Million March for Children, is educating. It's educating.
Yeah. So about gender affirming care, I want to get your explanation about using this terminology, because it sounds really very nice. If you affirm something, but this is what we need. We need to be comfortable about who we are. But I think there is something about misleading about the use of terminology, and this is how they manipulate the minds of people.
Yes. So, and I'm going to put this right out there. Affirming a delusion is not helpful. And so when educators or doctors or whomever tells a child, affirms their idea that they are in the wrong body, or that they have a boy brain or a girl brain opposite to what their biology says, that is actually lying to the child. That's lying to the child. It is not scientifically correct. It's biologically oppositional. And when you lie to a child, and you're lying to the child who has now mostly heard this either in the classroom or on social media. They perhaps have some issues going on. Perhaps there's some family things going on. And so they grasp at something, because this is something now that it's not only okay, but this will make me feel good, and I'll be approved of. Here's the reality here: 48% of the children who are diagnosed with gender dysphoria now, 48% of them have already been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. These people are targeting our most vulnerable children. It's absolutely appalling. And so to affirm a lie is not helpful. You said something earlier about everything's upside down. Exactly. Gender affirming care is actually upside down. It is actually destroying the trust a child should have and parents should have in the school system, the medical system, because it does not help these children with their gender dysphoria. In fact, I think it's the American Psychiatric Association has said that gender affirming care, and I'm paraphrasing, is not it's not, they said it's not helpful, but I can't remember the exact wording. I have it written down somewhere, but not close. So we need to tell the truth. The puberty blockers are harmful to children. Chest binding, harmful to children, to young girls. And anyways, testosterone in young girls, estrogen in young boys, and then of course surgical mutilation of their healthy bodies. These children are put on a trajectory of lifelong medical care. They will need medical care their whole life to continue to become something that, well, they usually discover in their 20s and 30s now that they can never be. You cannot. You can look like the opposite sex. You can kind of behave like the opposite sex, but you cannot biologically become the opposite sex. We just have to stop lying to children.
This is true. It's really very sad to hear all those stories, and I completely agree with you that those children, they need our care. They need to be taken care of by honest therapists. So yeah, so you need to be, but unfortunately, because of the control of the policy on everything, including therapists, including telling them how to deal with their patients, and claiming that they know more than the professionals about their own profession, which is kind of it doesn't make sense. Like, how come a professor is taught to how to speak or how to deal with his patients? So that's that, and to be considered as a criminal if he breaks the law, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you tell the truth, you're a criminal. If you tell the truth, you're a criminal.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say here is that Canada lags. We are so far behind the research on this whole issue. Many European countries, Australia, and several US states have now pulled back on gender affirming care for children. They have changed the laws in their country to say that children under 16 or under 18 can no longer just have gender affirming, that they need to have psychological assessment, like real psychological assessment, which children in Canada do not get, and hopefully by an impartial and a really well-informed trauma specialist, that they must have those assessments prior to any kind of medicalization, any puberty blockers or anything like that, and that they can't have puberty blockers or hormone therapy prior to 16. That is a huge win. And yet Canada is just pushing this so far. Why? You have to say why, and particularly our prime minister. And, excuse me, and the politicians who continue, and the media, I guess, to continue to say, this is the way to go. And parents are just left, well, you said it, parents are traumatized when their child comes home, and it's like their world falls apart. It's, I'm starting another book, Loving Your Non-Conforming Child, for parents, because for them, can you imagine, Bahira, the grief? Your little girl comes home, at 10 years old and tells you that they're a boy. And then they demand, because it's demanding, they can go on websites, and they so much social media now, and Tumblr and Reddit and different websites that promote transitioning. And so children look at these things, think this is wonderful, and they're given words to say, like, I'll kill myself if you don't agree with me. And so parents are just like, oh, we have to agree with our child because they'll kill themselves. There's no research saying that. In fact, in Tavistock, I think there were 3 suicides of gender dysphoric children, and every suicide is one too many. Don't hear me out here. This is awful, but it's nothing like what we are told in the media. These children do have, many of them do have suicidal ideation, but it's very, very familiar to children who have been traumatized, whether they've been sexually abused or they've had trauma in their home, they've been through divorce. These children are already vulnerable. So they already have all these several mental illness issues prior to claiming that they are gender dysphoric. But we don't treat those issues. We're not allowed to. We have to tell the child, you're right, you're the opposite sex. We lie to the child instead of dealing with the issues. And now what's happening in the US, and I think there's a couple in Canada, is that children who have transitioned, it's women, young girls who transitioned, had double mastectomies, did the hormones, now in their mid-20s, suing the medical profession, and about time, because we need to hold these professionals accountable for what they're doing, and we need to hold the schools accountable. These teachers that are promoting, like I said, that are sending homework home for a 4 and 5-year-old to masturbate, we need those teachers out of our public school system. And if we can't do that within the public school system, right now, I would say to every parent listening, take your child out of the public system. I know that's a really hard thing for most parents, but you know what? These children's lives are in your care. And, you know, to be able to rescue them, I want you to think you are rescuing them from a lifelong medical catastrophe.
Yeah, that is very heartbreaking, the stories that we are hearing. And by the way, many of our team members and our steering committee members and those who are initiating this movement, they have their own stories, and they have it is touching their own life. It is not so this passion is coming from maybe trauma that they have been passing through, and their family members, and many of their friends. So I believe that this is what created the change, the severe push against people. So they put them in a condition that they can no longer remain silent. And people coming together, when people come together and then they start sharing the stories, so this is empowering. What do you think? Like, I think that there is something happening which is unique and different at this stage. So what do you think have led Canada to create this movement and to be sparked by like a small team in Ottawa, and Kamala Sheikh, who called this with a group of mothers, and then the message resonated with the whole country. So why do you think it became that powerful?
Well, I think you said it, Bahira, that when it touches our lives, when something like this comes home to our house, then we pay attention. And unfortunately, that's what's been happening. And my heart goes out to the parents, because they're really left with so much confusion themselves. And how do we handle this? How do we deal with this when we know that this isn't true? This isn't, you know, my child is not the opposite sex, but everyone's telling them they are. And so what you have are parents and other individuals who have seen what's happening, right? They've become more and more aware, and they're heartbroken.
Yeah.
You know, we need to be heartbroken over things that devastate our children.
Right.
And so that's what I think is happening. And I don't wish for any parent to ever go through that. I don't. It's not something that you want to do. You don't want to go down that road. But you know, I want to say to those parents that you know, perhaps this is what is causing us all to rise up. And if you can take that woundedness and not to be bitter, you know, but to be impassioned by righteousness, by right thinking, then we will actually be able to do something about this.
Yes, that's very well said, Dr. Anne. I'm very happy to be with you, and I really wanna maybe we can arrange other interviews, because we are very curious to know a lot about your research about, and to educate more and more people, and to give them the right message and to empower them. So we need to go to the protest. Don't be afraid. Nothing is gonna happen. Not like but some people are afraid maybe to lose their job, or to lose their, to be defamed. So when all of us come together, this is when the other side will be afraid. So we will be the power that threaten everyone about attacking us, right?
Yeah.
Because we are just calling for protection of our children. We are very peaceful, and the real power is being truthful and being courageous and
Yes.
being united, and putting our hands together side by side. Forget about any divisiveness, any hate, and we love everybody, right?
Yes, and what you said, to be courageous. I want to encourage everyone listening, be strong and courageous, because this is the time for parents to stand together for their children, for the sake of their children. And that's what we're doing, Bahira. That's, I mean, I am so thrilled to be part of the advisory committee, and so thrilled to work with you. And it's been a real delight for me, honestly. I'm just yeah, overwhelmed, because we're like-minded. We love our children. And when you love your children, you should be willing to stand in the gap for them.
Thank you so much. So I just want to tell everybody the only reliable website for the information is the HandsOffOurKids.ca. Go to the website for the updates and connect with us through filling the form. And we have also pages on social media and on Instagram, on Facebook. Connect with us and be there, and don't listen to any rumors to tell you that anything is gonna be canceled, because people will go anyways.
Yes.
They have a mission, and we are supporting everybody. And Dr. Anne is gonna have a very wonderful speech in Ottawa, and we have also other wonderful speakers all over the country in different cities, and also in the US. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Anne. Do you want to say something before we leave today? A last
Well,
thing?
I want to say that I'm very excited to meet you all in person in Ottawa, and that, yes, parents, don't stay home because you hear rumors. Rumors are, you know, rumors are rumors. Stand up, get out your door, bring your children, take them out of school that day, and join us wherever there is a march. And it's in most large cities across Canada, probably all large cities, and many small communities, towns, at their town halls, city halls. So join us together, and together we can do something about this.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.